Hey guys, this is Undercover Dudes all the way from Down Under, and today I'm going to be talking about by far the best class in Lawbreakers right now, and that is the Wraith. The Wraith is absolutely dominating the scene right now. Everybody's going to pick him up because he goes and does everything oh so well. He puts out a ton of damage, can absolutely shred tanks, can go and move around the map really easily in 0G zones and non-0G zones alike, and also has amazing objective control, able to go and move the Blitzball from one side of the map to the other really easily. Now today I'm going to be talking about, in the Rise Up Open Beta, what is the most overpowered aspects of the Wraith and what really needs to be changed. But first I really want to go and talk about why the Wraith overall will be a power pick throughout the whole lifespan of this game. It's fairly apparent that the Wraith does far too much damage, with the machine pistol, with the right click, the kick and the explosive charge. Overall, decimating squishies and tanks alike is the Wraith's purpose, but he does it way too well. In Lawbreakers, there's something that I like to go and call the holy trinity of DPS properties, and it's comprised of health, damage, and mobility. If a class has two of these properties, it's balanced. It's strong, but it's balanced. But if a class has all of these properties, it is overpowered. Take, for example, the Assassin. The Assassin has absolutely amazing damage, can go and shred tanks in an instant, and also has amazing mobility, can go and swing from one side of the map to the other in a few seconds. But saying that, the Assassin has by far the lowest health pool of any role in this game, and that makes it a really risky pick in going up against these really high damage classes, because you can just go and get one shot. A Titan rocket to the face, one shot. Overall, a very big risk, but a very big reward. Now, go and take the Wraith. The Wraith is a class that has all three of these properties down pat. Amazing damage, a really nice health pool, and ridiculously good mobility. Probably the best mobility of any class in the game, in my opinion. A lot of people would go and say, what about Vanguard, but what about Assassin? But the consistency of the mobility is what I want to go and talk about today. The mobility is why no matter what happens to his damage, no matter what happens to his health pool, the Wraith will still be relevant, because you can't go and change such a fundamental part of his kit. Well, you can go and make small modifications, but overall, the whole identity of the Wraith is around using his right click to go and move around the 0G zone, his sliding, and the fact he can go and do a triple jump in mid-air. Overall, you combine all of those characteristics together, his mobility is insane, and realistically, Boss Key can go and make small modifications to it, but they can't go and gut his kit, and that's why he will forever be relevant in this game. Let me give a little bit of a usage example of how powerful the mobility of the Wraith class is. What you can go and do is channel a knee slide into a jump into a right click, and you're already going flying through the air. If you want to go and keep up that momentum, you can go and do another jump into another right click, and then you can keep spamming those right clicks in order to go and move through 0G. Now with that said, you're in midair, but you still have one jump left. With that one jump, you have it as a little bit of a safety barrier. If you need to make a really quick maneuver, you have that last jump, but now you've got no jumps left. What do you go and do? You can just quickly touch the floor, get all your jumps back, keep the momentum that you've built up from all the previous maneuvers, do another knee slide, get right back in the air, and you're speeding around the map. Overall, there is no way to go and really lose your momentum as Wraith unless you want to go and lose your momentum, unless you want to go and slow down. You can go and just keep speeding around the map as much as you like, and that is the cool part of why his kit is so powerful. Now, the question everybody is asking, what can be changed to the Wraith in order for him to be more balanced? Well, to be perfectly honest, all three of the properties have to be hit in some way or another. There really isn't a reason to go and play Assassin. There isn't a reason to play Gunslinger when Wraith is just so powerful at this point. Now, let's go and talk about the damage. The damage is just so significant. It's probably the reason why a lot of newer players are just picking him up, because you can just really hard carry based off the amount of damage he does. You don't even really need to know the mechanics. You don't even really know how to go and abuse his mobility. You can just go and abuse his damage, and you can do a ton of effective work for your team. Now, what does Boss Key need to go and change? Well, the first thing is his machine pistol. His machine pistol does a lot of damage in close range, which it should be. That's absolutely fine. But the drop-off isn't enough. It still does a ton of damage at medium range and even can be used at peppering at long. That long range damage should be completely insignificant. It really shouldn't have any damage at long range. It should really be a close to medium range weapon, and even at medium range, have that damage go and drop off significantly. So it really forces people into those close range engagements, because at medium range, at the moment, he fares quite well. But he needs to fare not so well, so the gunslingers, the enforcers, the vanguards can really go and smash him. Now, what about the right click? The right click is just insanely forgiving right now. It really doesn't take any skill to go and get a wasp kill. All you have to go and do is point your crosshair in the general direction of an enemy, you lunge towards them, you do a ton of damage, and then you can go and follow it up with a kick and or maybe just spray your machine pistol. Overall, it's a brain dead combo. It takes absolutely no skill, and you can just keep spamming your right click because the cooldown of it is just so insignificant. You can just go right click, right click, right click, and a lot of classes really don't have any counter to it. In my opinion, the only class in the game right now that can go up against the Wraith is the Juggernaut. The Juggernaut has an insanely high health pool, a really nicely damaging shotgun. The right click does a ton of damage as well. And overall, that key ability, that damage reduction armor, is really nice as well. He has a lot of time to go and react to what the Wraith is doing. Twitch around, put a couple shotgun blasts into him, and overall the Wraith is toast. Now take the other tank in Lawbreakers, the Titan. The Titan has absolutely no chance against the Wraith, because the Wraith will go in one shot a Titan before the Titan even realizes he's been, damaged. Overall, the combo goes like this. You E into the Titan, you stick that explosive charge into the Titan, and the Titan really wouldn't notice that. Then you go and spray the Titan down with your left click. You do a ton of damage because of the bullets, but you also go and trigger the explosive. You knee slide in, you go and right click with the knife, then you kick, and then you spray, you finish off with the pistol. That combo decimates a Titan, and the Titan will have really no time to go and respond. A Juggernaut against that combo will have time to respond. It will only go and cut out like a third or half his health, and then the Juggernaut can go and win the battle. Now, what has to change with the right click? With the right click, it simply needs a longer cooldown. It is up way too much. And yes, this will go and affect the mobility, but I think it will go and affect the mobility in a good way as well, because it makes you say, okay, I have to really decide what I'm going to be doing with my right click. I'm going to say, okay, I want to go for the damage, or I want to go for mobility. At this point in the game right now, you can say, okay, I want to go for mobility, and then like half a second later, I'm going to go in for a little bit of damage. Make that cooldown a lot more significant. Force people in order to make these decisions, and then overall the spammy nature will go down. Now, the second property I talked about was the health. The health of a Wraith is way too high. Why is it higher than the Assassin when you can go and do arguably more damage? The health needs to go down. It needs to go down by 20, 30, 40 even. It needs to be gutted a little bit, because overall you can tank way too much. The amount of times I've walked away from a fight with 10, 20, 30 HP is unbelievable, and then I can easily slide back to my health regenerator, get back up to full HP, and then slide right back into battle. Simply a health nerf and a damage nerf on his pistol and his right click will mean that less people will go and play him, simply because they think he's, too squishy and too, fragile. But the people that really know how to go and play the Wraith, these setbacks won't be really big setbacks, because overall, playing Wraith as a beginner is very different to playing Wraith as, a bit more of an experienced player. As a beginner, at the moment, you can just go and run head first into a fight, spray your machine pistol, and then you can just spray around with your right clicks and your explosive charge and just really don't care about what combos you're pulling off, and you'll be able to go and do a ton of damage. But a good Wraith is supposed to go for these 1v1 battles, decimate an opponent, and then wait for your cooldowns, then go back into another fight. At the moment, the cooldowns are way too low. For cooldowns, having them reduced, I think will be a really good thing in order for this class to be in a more balanced state. Now, with that said, that right click where I said it needs a higher cooldown, and the fact it needs precision zones, that will go and actually affect his mobility. But I think the mobility, having that toned down a little bit as well, is really, really good. Because the fact that when you go and touch the ground, you get over the jumps back, that is so powerful. That is unbelievably powerful. And I think removing that aspect is going to be a lot more damaging to his identity than just going and having a little bit more of a cooldown on his right click. I think that is something that overall those changes will go and make the Wraith a lot more of a balanced champion. Now, if you guys were a little bit, honed in, a little bit keen on what I was saying, you would realize that I never went and talked about his ultimate. I think his ultimate is in a good spot right now. I think it's absolutely perfect. But everything else is just way too strong. And therefore, the ultimate seems way too strong. I think if the damage was reduced, if the cooldown is reduced, going and taking out that one person, the 1-2 people with the ultimate by just slowing them down and making them really, really easy to go and pull off a combo on, will be great. And then you can also use it for the objective, going slowing down people that are running towards the Blitz Bowl. And overall, I think his ultimate is in a good spot. But the Wraith, it needs some work. And hopefully Bosky goes and realizes what the community is going saying. But realize that what the majority of people are saying that only have an hour or two into this game, they're just kind of saying the most blatant surface level thing. Saying, wow, his damage is too high. But not going and realizing that is not just because of his machine pistol, but is also because of his right click. And that right click is absolutely crucial. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to go and give it a like rating. But other than that, it's Undercover Dudes all the way from Down Under.